Hi there, Eric Rainwater here. On this balmy morning. It's a bit breezy, which is nice. It keeps things a little bit cooler, but it might mess up the mic a little bit. But we're just gonna keep on rolling. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the power of attitude, the power of the negative power of complaint, and Thanksgiving, gratitude, those things. When we complain, when we aren't thankful, but when we complain, does it ever help a situation? Does complaining ever make whatever problem you have go away? No. Complaint never makes the situation better. It might feel cathartic for a second. And it's one thing to, right, something happens and there's a complaint that rises up. Maybe it comes out. And sometimes that's the right thing to do. Don't let it sit and fester. Because maybe that's worse. Maybe letting complaint just sit in the heart and not be dealt with lets it grow. And sometimes that's the thing, let it out a little bit. But here's the thing, holding on to complaint never makes anything better, ever. There's not one situation ever in existence where complaint, where worry, where panic has ever made anything better for anybody, ever. And so complaint and worry and especially panic are things to be done away with. They are things that happen. They're things that, they happen to us. Our flesh, it rises up in us. But what we do with it is part of our free will. Part of maturity is dealing with those things. And that's the question, what are we going to do? Because it's not natural. It's not what naturally happens is we complain. Things aren't the way we like. We don't live in a perfect world, so naturally we complain. Naturally, it's like, I don't like this situation. Well, duh. But it's holding on to the complaint that is not, it's not helping. It keeps you in the situation, and all it does is it makes the problem worse. It keeps it in the front of your mind, and it makes it worse. It never makes it better. The power of attitude. I tested this one time, and I challenge you to test it yourself. You can do it with different things, but I did it with rain. One time it was raining, and I had to go outside, to get from one place to the other, and I decided to test my theory of attitude. And so I stopped, and if I would have negative thoughts, I'd be like, oh man, this rain, I don't want to get wet. It wasn't even so much that I was complaining about it, but I was just like, oh, I don't want to get wet. I want to get from this place to the next. But I was dwelling on the rain. Can't keep this lit. And the rain felt almost painful, right? It would be like, tick, tick, tick. It was like these little stings of pain, and we've all felt that. We're trying to get to the car or whatever. And if your attitude is, oh, I don't want to get wet, the raindrops don't feel good. But I stopped right there, and I just stood there and just turned my attitude to reception, to receiving what the rain had to give. And I just was thankful for the rain. Had my hands out, and the rain felt refreshing. It felt so good. It felt amazing. And it was right there. Simple switch of attitude and mentality. So especially a morning like today. It's humid, right? If it wasn't for the breeze, it'd be stuffy. And what am I gonna do? I could complain about it. I could dwell on it. If I stop and I think, oh, I don't like this, it never feels good. It doesn't feel good. But if I sit there and I'm thankful for the breeze and I'm thankful for weather at all, and I just don't complain, even though I'm not necessarily thankful for the humidity, but I'm not complaining. And even saying, oh, it's not so bad. It's bearable. Even that, even just saying, oh, it's bearable, I'll be okay. It makes it bearable. Attitude. It changes everything. And that's the weather. That's a simple test. And it can be cold. And I've done this for years. I've tested in the cold. It's really cold. It's almost unbearable. But if I stop and I don't dwell on it, I can bear it. Now, obviously, the weather can be such that it is unbearable. Our body is going, hey, this is not a safe situation, right? You need to change environments because we're being overwhelmed. The body is amazing and adapts to so much, right? We acclimate, right? After a week or two of humidity, if it's in the 80s and humid, it's not so bad. Where 3 weeks ago it was 80s and humid, and it was horrible. It was like, oh, my body was like, uh-oh. And it was this shift, right? And I noticed it in my body. But the body can acclimate. I got a friend who lived in Thailand, and it was super humid, and it was so unbearable. But after a while of living there, his body acclimated. He didn't sweat as much. It wasn't so bad, right? It's like people that are moved down to Florida. It's not so bad after a while, but then when if it's 50 degrees in the wintertime, they're cold because the body acclimates. But it acclimates faster when you have a good attitude, when you don't complain. I'm convinced of it. But that's just an example of in our body that we can notice individually. But obviously life has other things that happen that seem unbearable. Right? The culture's going to crap. All kinds of stuff. Or just in our lives, like we don't like how we're being treated, or we're not happy with ourselves, all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of things that we can complain about. But if we live in complaint, we are a negative person, and we become unbearable to be around. No one likes that. We don't like ourselves. We don't like ourselves when all we do is complain, and it's a vicious cycle. And so learning over time to, when it hits you, right? Things annoy us. You're not going to get away from that, but it's what you do. Are you responsive or are you reactive? If you're reactive, you just go with how you feel, right? It's one form of honesty, right? It starts there. Right? That's how we feel. It's not how we'd like it to be. But if we stay there, if we don't respond and move in a proper direction and choose the mature path and move away from that into an attitude of gratitude. It's cheesy, it's simple, but it's difficult to do. But over time, it becomes easier. And when we can be responsive and we can be mature, then maybe we're in a position to change the situation. Because sometimes there are things we can do to change it. But many times, there's nothing you can do about it. There is so much that is out of our control, and we can't do anything about it. But complaining will not ever make the situation better. So if you can't control it, and complaint won't do anything about it, you have to bear it, right? We've all heard that phrase, grin and bear it. Well, it's true. And it is a mental exercise. But it's not just saying it, and it's definitely not complaining about the phrase, grin and bear it. Learn to be resilient. I'm going to talk about that all the time because that is my attitude. Become resilient, right? What did I say before? In the scope of eternity, it doesn't matter. It's momentary. It's moving on. But complaint never makes it better. Ever. And then complaint can move into worry. Worry never makes anything better. And sometimes worry precedes complaint. And so if we hold on to worry, if we worry about things in life, we're focused on the negative of everything that can go wrong. Things can always go wrong. You're always going to be in situations where it doesn't quite go right. But what are you going to do? You got to go Marine Corps, man. Adapt and overcome. That's the only way through it. There are so many situations in life where the only way out is through. And we've all heard this. I'm not giving you something new. This isn't some great original wisdom that I've been given. It's just that those things are true. They're not always easy to do, but it is the truth. You have to become the person, become a mature adult that gets through the situation. And if you become that person, then you can help other people get through the situation. If you can be an oak that stands in the mighty wind, then you can help other people. You can be a shade from the sun that bears down upon them, right? If you can be stable, then you can help other people. You can help the immature, the children, and there's adults that act like children, and they need help because they never learned. They never were taught, for one thing. This is tried and true wisdom of maturity. And this is just a reminder. That's all this is. I'm reminding myself because I don't perfectly do this. I have to stop and go, hey, Eric, you are complaining. You are whining in your heart. And it's not helping. And I just stop and go, I'm going to go the right direction. And then I can respond either in being resilient or being able to change the situation. But if you're in complaint, you can't really change anything. You're just sitting there complaining and blaming something else. You're blaming the weather, which has nothing to do with you, or you're blaming that other person. Happens all the time. We're blaming that other person, making it their fault. They're just doing what they do. That's out of your control. You know. And if you complain to them in that situation, all you're going to do is create a fight. You're not going to help the situation. You're going to make it worse. You're just going to create division between you and the people you love. You're not going to make it better. And then worrying about the situation doesn't make it better. And then the worst of all is panic. If you hit the panic button at the first sign of something going wrong, you can't help it. I mean, look at, that's how toddlers react. Things don't go their way, and they panic, and they freak out, and they complain, and they cry, and they whine, and they lose it. But we got grown adults acting like toddlers, panicking. Yelling and screaming like idiots. Totally out of their rational mind, out of control. Let's not be those people. Let's not be people that complain. Let's not be people that worry. And let's just throw the panic button out the window. Never just throw it out the window. It's not an option. If you make it not an option, you'll do it less and less. And eventually it will be gone. Don't panic. If a situation is really bad, if it's an emergency, panic will freeze you and you'll not be able to respond. You'll be in this reactive panic state and you'll be frozen. It's shock. And there's certain situations where that kills, right? If you get injured yourself and that's shock. And it can kill you. It shuts you down. And that's why we train for emergencies. That's what adults do, right? That's what first responders do. But you can go out right now and you can learn the proper ways to deal with an emergency situation. And if you have the information but that won't do you any good if you're panicking. But if you learn to deal with panic and you have the training to deal with an emergency, then you can help other people who are hurt. Or you can stay calm when you're hurt. You're better. And you can even tell somebody else what to do to help you out. You don't like the way the country's going. Me neither. But what are we going to do about it? We got to start doing something about it, and it just starts with your attitude. Don't give in to worry. Don't give in to complaint. Let's say it really goes bad. And those that stand in the way of those that are seeking power, we truly become the enemy. What good is it going to do to worry and complain and panic about it? Nothing. Nothing. It's never going to help. Learn to be a grown-up. Learn to respond with calm, cool, collected attitude. Stay calm, stay cool, stay collected, no matter what happens. And this doesn't happen automatically, but it's the little situations in life that's your practice. That's your little tests. The little tests, the weather, your spouse, your children, those little things, right? I was doing it last night. The computer wasn't doing it, was freaking out. It was doing something I didn't like, and I was getting frustrated. That's not good. That's not healthy. My toddler saw me, and she responded like, "Stop it." She was right. I had to go, oh man, what am I doing? It's not a good excuse to get frustrated and reactive. What's that gonna help? No, I had to stop and just shut it off and restart go to a different whatever, just stop. And that's a big thing. Stop. Learning to stop and redirect, right? That's the power. That's repentance. Ooh, there's a train going by. Stop and repent. Turning around, going the right direction. That's huge. That is huge. And it's in the little things. It's noticing those little things in your life and going, I don't want to be that way. I want to be calm and cool and collected. And I want to be a grown-up, and I want to be a man. If you're a man, women too. Hey, life's tough. Life's scary. There's fragility to life. Absolutely. And so sometimes it's honest. It is honest to go, this is scary. I want to complain. I want to panic. All those things. That's okay. But it's stopping and going, but what can I do about it? And these can become quick. It doesn't have to take long. And responding with maturity, with calmness, then you can act in a wise way. And if it's a bad situation, you can change it. Or if it's an interpersonal thing, you can check yourself. How do I want to bring this up? Or do I just not bring it up? And because it has nothing to do with me. It's just my own attitude that needs to change. The other parts, whatever. Just roll with it. It takes time. But learn to not complain. Learn to just keep on keeping on. You will learn to adapt and overcome. Become responsive to situations, not reactive. Respond, not just react. That takes time, but it's doable. And those that learn to respond, if it's an emergency situation, they're the ones that people will gravitate towards. And you'll be able to help people. It's not because you're better than them. It's just because you've learned to not be reactive. They're in reaction. But if everybody's reacting and no one is being mature, then we can't get out of the situation. But if you stop and you turn toward the right way and you set your face like flint, we're going to deal with this, then things can change and things can get better. And that's what it takes. Right? And as far as like the country's going, I don't know what I could do to change things. All I have really sphere of is my community, my family, myself. So right now, that's what I deal with. And I want to be prepared to help make things better or stay calm and protect as best I can if things get worse. What else are you going to do? Just keep keep on keeping on. Even if things get bad and they split up, they take our children from us and they throw us in jail because we refuse to obey their wickedness. That's what it might come down to. You got to be prepared for that. At the same time, we're not there yet. And I pray we don't overreact the other way and make, it might get us out of the immediate situation, but if we just kick the can down the road and don't deal with things, it won't get better. But we are definitely in a fight. We're definitely in a fight. But that's the way things have always been. Culture war and politics and this, that, or the other it's since the fall of man, since the fall of Adam and Eve. It's always been that way, and it's going to continue that way till Jesus comes back. And so you got to learn to be mature. You got to learn to have an attitude. Be thankful for the things you have. If you're thankful and you stay in that place, you'll be all right. I run into people and they're like, "How you doing?" And it's not dishonest for me to say I'm doing good because I'm thankful. Is everything perfect? No, but I'm thankful. I have learned to say, yes, I'm okay. I'll be okay. I got nothing to complain about. Could I complain? Of course. Could things be better? Absolutely. But it won't help. So I keep on keeping on. So I hope this helps you, right? I hope that whoever listens to this, it helps you remind yourself, hey, don't be a complainer. Don't be a whiner. Don't be a worrier, and don't panic. Especially for you men out there. If there's going to be any positive change in your family, any positive change in your community and our culture, it's going to be the men who lead, because men were made to lead. Men were made to be tough and to deal with things. And it helps when you have a good woman who backs you up. And we need each other. But men need to lead. And not be jerks about it, but we need to lead. We need to step up and help everybody around us learn to be calm and learn to move through the situation. That's the only way out. We have a whole generation of fatherlessness, so we got to learn to be fathers. Whether you got a wife and kids or not, you can be fatherly. I talked about it in the last video. Become fatherly. Become a mature man, and you can help people out and help take care of others. That's how we get through this. Yep. Well, I'll probably talk about this some more, but because it's what's on my heart, it's my philosophy, and I think it's our only full hope is in Jesus. But if we don't do the things, if we don't take hold of Christ and gird up our loins and be men, it won't change a thing. All right. Love y'all. Bless you. Keep you. May the Lord help you out. Sometimes that's what it takes to get into that place of maturity. Being honest and going, Lord, help me. That's a start. So bless you. See you next time.